All right, hope you guys enjoyed that quick little video from Go Active Long Beach. Now I'll go ahead and share our PowerPoint with you all.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Kayla, for sharing that video to get us started and pulling up our presentation. You are all here to watch the presentation all about biking for the body, mind, and planet as part of Earth Weeks at the Beach. My name is Allison Borwell. I am a health educator with CSULB Student Health Services, and I'm joined by Kayla. And Kayla, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yes, I am Kayla Jolly. I am an MBA student as well as a sustainable transportation coordinator for the parking department.
All right. So today we are so excited to talk about all wonderful things related to bicycling with you today. We hope to help increase your confidence around riding bikes, maybe for your commute or just for fun. Just recreationally, just to get outside and get some exercise. We're going to share some tips for accessing the right kind of bicycle for you, whether it's helping you purchase the right one for you, or maybe even taking advantage of the city bike share program. So we want to make it fun and accessible for everybody. So thank you all for joining us today. We hope you enjoy the presentation. And before we get started, we are going to move on to some housekeeping items. And oh no, did I freeze? Can you still hear me, Kayla?
I can still hear you.
You can still hear me. Well, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna keep on going. My Zoom says it's not responding, but if you could go to the next housekeeping slide, I would appreciate that. Wanted to let you all know that we are recorded so we can share it with anyone who's not able to attend live. We have spotlit the speakers, so if you, just so you're aware, you will not appear on the recording, but just for comfort's sake, if you want to keep your video off or even change your name for anonymity's sake, that is totally fine, whatever helps you to be comfortable in this space today. We do ask that you stay on mute throughout the presentation. You will have the opportunity to unmute yourself at the end to ask us any questions directly. Please feel free to use the chat if you would like to share any comments or questions throughout our presentation. We love active engagement and we'll answer all of your burning questions at the end of the presentation. If you are attending as an approved extra credit opportunity, we will share a link to receive that credit at the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. All right. So as I stated earlier, this event is one of many wonderful events as part of Earth Weeks at the Beach to celebrate Earth Day this year. And it is brought to you by CSULB Sustainability Department. So if you can go to the next slide, Kayla, we're going to walk you through a couple of really exciting events that are coming up. And there's actually one huge one that is happening all month long that anyone can sign up for. It's the CSU Earth Month Eco Challenge. This will challenge you and participants from other CSUs to take action on over 100 environmental and social issues in 8 categories to help you reduce your carbon footprint and create a significant global change during the month of April. Prizes will be awarded to the winning campus and 20 highest scoring participants. So it's fun, it's free, it's a great way to get involved and learn about what you can do to be more eco-friendly. Next slide, please. All right, we have an event on April 22nd from 12 to 1:30. It's called Taking Action for People and the Planet. Join students, faculty, and staff from across the CSU system for a conversation with young leaders of the intersectional and climate justice movement, followed by empowering action-oriented breakout sessions. So really, really great way to learn more and be a part of the conversation. Next slide, please. That one is a showcase. Innovation Hour is on Wednesday, the 21st from 12 to 1:15. There will be an online project gallery. That's already started, actually. So anyone can already take a look. It's a virtual interactive event highlighting student sustainability related projects from a variety of disciplines. So attend, support your fellow students and peers, and just learn about how we can all be more sustainable in our daily lives. And if you want to learn more, you can follow CSULB Sustainability on all of the social media platforms. And there's even YouTube with some really cool, fun, helpful videos that you can watch. And if you'd like to receive the monthly bulletin, feel free to sign up and you'll get a newsletter. So lots of fun ways to get involved and to learn about all these wonderful sustainability efforts on campus. Next slide, and I'm going to pass it back to Kayla.
All right. Thank you so much, Allison. So now I'm just going to introduce myself and my bike background a little bit more. I have a 10-speed Univega, which is a road bike. I purchased it from either OfferUp or Craigslist. I can't exactly recall, but it was about 3 years ago, and I only paid $150. And then after I purchased it, I put a little bit of accessories on the frame. I have a rear rack. I got lights, a bell, and then a back rack pannier, as you can see in that image. And I also purchased a U-lock. I've been commuting to campus for about 4 years by bike. I don't always bike. Sometimes I drive when I have class at night. But I definitely really enjoy commuting by bike because it gets my exercise in. And it's often like just about the same amount of time as it would have taken me to drive because I don't have to search for parking. It's 3.5 miles for me to get to CSULB from my home. And then in addition to commuting to campus, I also just use my bike to get around the town, to go grocery shopping or farmers markets or friend's house. It's just kind of my go-to. And I'll pass it back to Allison. Allison, I think you're muted. Oh. What happened?
Thank you. So sorry about that, everyone. We're having some technical difficulties, but I am able to unmute myself now. Sorry about that, but thank you all for your patience. What would be a Zoom presentation without some tech issues? So thank you for your compassion. But I am back on. Okay, internet is working. Thank you. So thank you, Kayla, for introducing yourself and sharing a little bit of your bicycling experience with the group. And I'd love to share mine. So I am a beginner bicyclist, which I think is pretty fun to share. I think Kayla and I really complement each other in that way that hopefully anyone attending today can relate with one of us, with Kayla being a little bit more of an experienced bicyclist and actually commutes on her bicycle, whereas I am very, very new, meaning I learned as an adult. And thank you so much for sharing in the chat. It looks like we have some other beginners in the group. So I just want to say it is never too late to learn. Bicycling is fun and accessible to all, and there are so many wonderful resources to help you learn. And I know Kayla is going to share some of those. So what do I ride? I ride a Kent Terra 2.6, 26-inch men's mountain bike with 21 speeds. I picked it up at Target for about $100. For me at the time, that was fairly affordable. I did purchase some additional accessories because I will share the bicycle seat, unfortunately, was not very comfortable. So I had to purchase a seat cover that was a little bit more cushiony for me. I bought that on Amazon. I also live in a small place, and for storage, I had to be mindful of that. So I had to buy a bike stand. It's a gravity bike stand, so I could just store my bicycle easily against the walls, keep it out of the way. And then especially during the winter months, I wanted to make the most of my bicycle and use it as a form of exercise. So I got a stationary stand. As you can see the picture right there in my living room, it's a small space, but it works. I have my little indoor workout area so I can still enjoy my TV shows and exercise at the same time. Those stationary stands, they can range from anywhere from $60 to $200, but I've also seen some pretty affordable DIY methods as well, if that's something that somebody's interested in. I also really enjoy it because it helps to increase my confidence on the bicycle without going outside and having other people potentially see me fall. I will share this bicycle. It is a little heavy, and I'm still learning how to use the gears. So for me personally, I wish I would have done a little bit more research prior to purchasing it. And that's another reason why I'm glad y'all are here today, because Kayla is going to share some really great tips for finding the right bicycle for you. And yeah, let's move on to the next slide. That is me and my journey.
All right, and now we're going to launch a quick group poll to get to know you guys and kind of your bike experience. Actually, this poll is about the frequency of exercise. The bike experience poll will come later.
So when we start talking about bicycling, I think it's important to start by discussing the health benefits of bicycling. So any little motivator to help people get outside and ride their bicycles. And it can be a really, really fun way to get that exercise. So it looks like some people are still chiming in. We'll leave this up for just another moment. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end polling now. And let's go ahead and share these results. All right, so it looks like the majority of people say 2 to 3 times a week. And what is the recommended amount of exercise? About 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. Okay, so some people exercise often here, which is very, very cool. Thank you so much for participating in that poll. So we have a short little video which talks about the health benefits of bicycling.
Cycling is a fun and easy way to get active and get healthy, and it also helps the environment too. Did you know that cycling burns around 5 calories a minute? That's at least 300 calories an hour. It's not all about burning calories though. Cycling boosts your mood and helps you connect to the world around you. You'll start noticing things that you've never seen before. Cycling also has huge benefits to your heart, reducing high blood pressure and your chance of having a stroke. Not only that, but more cycling makes the streets safer for everyone and could reduce road deaths by 30%. Bored of spending hours and hours in traffic jams? Cycling in major UK cities can help you get from A to B in half the time of cars. So, what are you waiting for? Get on your bike and start cycling today. Visit the Transport for Greater Manchester website for information and advice.
Thank you, Kayla. If you could go to the next slide. So yes, as you saw, there are so many wonderful benefits to riding a bicycle. And yes, for optimal health, it is recommended that you get about 150 minutes of exercise per week, which if we were to break that down would be 5 days, about 30 minutes a day. But really, it's important to find an activity that brings you joy. Why? Because you're most likely to do it and you're most likely to continue to do it and you'll have fun. And you know, we all need to have a little extra fun in our lives, don't we? If you could go to the next slide. There's so many physical health benefits. Cycling is great for your heart, brain, and blood vessels. In a 2016 study in the journal Circulation, they found that people who biked regularly had about 15% fewer heart attacks than did non-cyclists. Even as little as half an hour of riding your bike per week was linked to lower rates of heart disease. Another study even found that bicycle commuters were less likely to have conditions that raise heart disease risk, including high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or even prediabetes, compared with people who used public transit or drove to work. Now, we love public transit here. I'm not demonizing public transit whatsoever. It's just something to consider and see if that's right for you. Depending on where you live and work, commuting via bicycle can be an enjoyable way to get to work that avoids the stress of driving and parking. So if you could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Additionally, exercise also triggers the release of endorphins to the body's feel-good chemicals, which may make you feel young at heart. And again, it's just fun. It feels good. And especially now with all of these strange, hard times, I think we could all use a little extra endorphins in our lives. Next slide, please. And of course, cycling also builds muscle. And I already mentioned this before, but I can't stress it enough. It helps to reduce stress. Exercising often, it helps to reduce stress or reduce the negative effects of stress on the body. But then if you are choosing to ride a bicycle instead of drive to work, you're outside, you're in nature, it's just less stressful. And then if you add the benefits of riding with friends, that's the added benefit of being social. And you could even do it in a socially or physically distanced way if that makes you feel more comfortable. And I'll go ahead and pass it over to you, Kayla.
All righty. Thank you, Allison. Appreciate it. So they think this was actually your slide, but
there are so many benefits of bicycling, including zero emissions, which is up top. And that's where Kayla is going to jump in and talk about the environmental impact.
Okay, beautiful. So I will discuss basically what is our carbon footprint. And I think a lot of people have heard about, your carbon footprint, but don't know what it quantifies to. So here's a quick little stat. The average United States student produces almost 6 metric tons of carbon emissions per year, and 21% of that is related to transportation. And then if you're not a student, you're a faculty or a staff member that's joined us or a community member, then your footprint is 16.6 metric tons of carbon emissions. And that transportation portion of that is 15%. So while we're not recommending that you completely ditch, if you're driving a car right now, that out the window, because we understand that that's very challenging to do, even integrating biking into your life and replacing a few rides, maybe a week with biking, then that can definitely make a big difference. Additionally, when we contribute our communities and the planet, when we become part of something bigger than ourselves. So because we are mindful of okay, I'm making a decision to commute by bike instead of by car right now, it creates a sense of satisfaction in our own minds. And that's obviously great for your mental well-being. So some other topics we're going to be covering is what type of bike to get a bike, where to bike, bicycle safety, biking to campus, and the bicycle community. Oh, hello. We can hear you. Okay, so obtaining a bike. So Long Beach Bike Share is a program that launched back in 2016, and I imagine you've seen these blue bikes scattered throughout the city and as well as our campus, and they're actually extremely affordable for our campus community members to participate in. It's only $7.50 a month for a membership, and that's half off what the regular community pays for a membership. So a really great deal. So that's one option, and that helps you to avoid the cost of maintenance and the burden of doing the maintenance. Additionally, you don't have to worry about storage or theft. So a lot of great things about participating in the bike share program. But if you do want to purchase your own bike, then that can range from anywhere to $150 to $1,100, depending on how fancy you want to get. And that's going to include the accessories and maintenance as well. And then just for comparison there, we included the average cost of vehicle ownership, and that's based on a AAA finding that it costs over $9,000 a year on average to own a vehicle. And that's, I think, the 2019 figure. So what is the best type of bike for your needs? So here is a handful of different models. There's the city bike, which looks like our Long Beach bike share units. There's the road bike with skinnier tires and those kind of rounded handlebars. Then the BMX bike, which probably isn't what you guys are looking for if you're trying to use it for commuting, but if you want to do recreation and get into doing tricks and all that jazz, then more power to you. There's also an image of a folding bike. So this is a great option if you have a small living space, if you live in an apartment. Then a mountain bike, if you're an adventurous person and want to go do some mountain biking, then you want something with big knobby tires so that it can grasp the dirt better. And then last, we have the hybrid bike. So it's pretty much a mix between a road and a mountain bike. Actually, I think it's a mix between a road and a city bike. I'll correct myself. And so then I have a quick blurb about, oh, I see a question. What's the difference between the mountain and the hybrid? So the mountain is going to have definitely much knobbier tires, and I believe it's also heavier. So unless you're like planning to use it for mountain biking, I wouldn't recommend getting a mountain bike. So next we have a slide on fixed gear bikes. So some of you may have heard of this trend, and it's basically when it's basically a single speed bike that is adjusted to require the pedals to move for the bike to go forward. And this has some cons. So it makes coasting and going down hills very difficult because the pedals have to be in motion. So if you're going very fast downhill, your pedals have to be moving like this. And your feet probably are not going to want to keep up. And so some people will put their feet out to avoid getting tangled. But it's kind of problematic for that reason. You can't really coast as you normally would with a fixed gear bike. And then some pros, some people say you tend to bike a little bit faster because there's that constant need to have the pedals going. So because you can't just take a break when you want and coast, then you end up keeping pedaling. And then another pro is that some have said there's a slight sense of more speed control because there is that connectedness. But overall, I would personally not recommend a fixed gear bike. Next, we have electric bikes. So this is definitely a huge trend over the last year. There's been a bicycle boom and a lot more interest in electric bikes. And they're getting very sleek looking, as you can see in that image. So this particular model and brand is an Aventon Pace 500, and it goes for about $1,500. It has a 750 watt motor and provides 40 miles of range per charge. It has pedal assist power, or you can simply twist the throttle and relax to go into full electric mode. But then that is gonna drain the battery a little bit faster. So that's one option. And then here's kind of a higher tier option, the Linus Siesta 500. It runs for about $2,800. There's a 500 watt motor. It also provides 40 miles of range, and it has the same pedal assist power, or you can simply twist the throttle to relax and go in electric mode. And this is a really great option if you are using it for a commute, because I know that there can be concerns about, you know, arriving to school and being sweaty, and then if you are able to invest in an electric bike, then you can kind of avoid the really endurance portions of your commute, but in those hills, by just putting it into electric mode. So as I mentioned before, this is the Long Beach Bike Share program. This is what the bikes look like. And this is the company there that basically manages the bike fleet. So they are responsible for making sure the bikes are evenly distributed throughout all the different hubs. And they also handle sanitizing the units. And to ensure the cleanliness, they coat it daily with an environmental protected agency approved disinfectant. So commuter bike prices, again, they range from about $150 to $600 or $1,100 if you want a fancier one, as we mentioned before. There's a handful of different places that you can purchase a bike. You can check out your local bike shop. And here's just a small clip of the Long Beach bicycle shops. Long Beach is a huge city, so it doesn't capture all of them, but just an image of those closest to CSULB. And then a heads up that you can get 10% off at Jack's Bicycle Center on Bellflower if you present your campus ID. So that's definitely a good option to start at. And then additional alternatives would be online bicycle companies or retailers. So of course you can always turn to the wild, wild web to purchase a bike and have it shipped to you. Or you can use independent sales. So go on to OfferUp or Facebook Marketplace. Just be kind of careful to avoid purchasing a potentially stolen bike. I look out for the details. If they're highly detailed in their specs, then that's a good sign. But if they have a photo of their garage and there's 20 different bikes in there and they look like they've been spray painted, then I would steer away from that particular vendor. Next, we have the frame size. So you're definitely going to want to make sure that you purchase the right size bike for yourself. And one of the guides is by measuring your inseam. And you can see on this little image here that the inseam is basically from the ground up to your crotch. And here's the chart. So based on what that measurement is, so the inseam, this is the measurement for your frame size. And this is the road bike frame size. Oops. And then next to it, the mountain bike frame size. And then they also have a height option, but it's better if you use the inseam, because this is kind of using an assumption. The height is using an assumption of what they think your inseam will be, but it's better to measure it if you can. Next, maintenance. So if you ride regularly, bring your bike in for twice yearly tune-ups, and then put air in your tires once or twice a week. So a lot of people don't realize that you're going to want to do that frequently, but what happens is the air slowly leaks out, and it makes it a little bit more effortful when you're biking around if you have low tires. So you want them to be always pumped at the level that's noted on the side of your bike tire. So don't over pump it, because you don't want your tire to pop. So make sure you check that number and pump accordingly. And then of course, if you don't bike that frequently, then just pump your tires right before each ride. Backpacks on a bike are no bueno. It causes you to have a sweaty back, and that's not fun. So here's some alternatives. there are panniers, and that's in that first image there. As you can see, you can put them on the back rack, or you could put them on the front rack. And you can also have them on each side of your bike for better balance. There's also the handle bag bar, and that's that dark green one there, and a saddle bag, which then is attached to the rear rack. And then lastly, there's a frame bag, which is pretty cool, and it just perfectly fits into that triangle part of the frame. And then that ends up just staying on your bag. You don't remove it each time, or you could, but it's not really necessary because it's a bit of work for someone to come and snatch it. So it's pretty unlikely that they will. And then I saw a question here, what would you recommend for carrying a laptop? For a laptop, I would say these panniers, because they're the biggest. As you can see, it is the most similar to the size of a backpack. And that is definitely something that I have used in the past for a laptop. If you have like an iPad or something, then I think that some of the other options could work, but definitely the panniers if you have a backpack. A laptop. Bike security, no problem, Lily. Bike security. So you want to be very careful with how you're locking your bike. You don't want to solely use the coil locks. It's great to have a U-lock, but if you're going to, be an A+ student, you're going to use both the U-lock and a coil lock so that you can capture both tires. And here's an image of the best practice. So when you see one of these bike racks, you want to attach the frame and a tire to that rack with the U-lock. And then you attach your coily lock to the U-lock and the frame and your other tire. So it might look a little bit complicated, but once you do it the first time, you'll get a hang for it, and you'll be in good shape for avoiding theft. And then just a quick note about lights and bells. These are definitely accessories you want to grab. Lights obviously help with visibility, so it's a safety feature. And then bells can help to alert someone that you are behind them. So there might be someone that's about to walk into the street and you're biking and they don't see you. So you can ring your bell a couple times, and it just feels a little bit friendlier than yelling like, hey, you. So I definitely would invest in a bell. They're probably only $5 to $20 depending on how fancy and customized you want to get, because obviously these are really cute, potentially hand-painted ones here. So as we mentioned, you want to have a bike lock or locks. And then another great idea is to register your bike. And so what this does is it allows you to inform basically police systems that this is your bike and you are the owner. And so you provide the serial number and an image. And it's actually really easy. The city of Long Beach has a platform and you could do it all online. Submit your image, submit your contact information and serial number, etc. And then if your bike was to get stolen, you report it as stolen. And then if it is recovered, then they will contact you and inform you that your bike has been recovered. And that's definitely really helpful. The city of Long Beach's platform is called Garage 529, and I'm gonna include that in a email out to you all after this event so that you have that resource. And I'll also be including a handful of other links about topics that we've discussed in this webinar so that you have access to all the information we've shared. So learning to ride a bike, I know that there's a handful in with us today that have not, that are not skilled on bikes yet, but have no fear. You can definitely still learn as an adult. And I will be including in that follow-up email a link to this video. It is just about 4 minutes long, and it really breaks it down for you as far as how to get comfortable on a bike. And it really provides baby steps and is going to be a great resource for you. I saw a question come through. Is there a program like that for Ohio? I imagine that there's different bicycle registrations in Ohio. I know that this particular company is like nationwide. They might even be global. And so they partner with cities or universities. And so your city or university might be partnered with the same organization, Garage 529. And if not, you can still contact like your non-emergency line for your police department to inquire about what registration system they have, because even if they don't have this particular one, they probably have an alternative.
This is Star. Great. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Oh, shoot. So let me go back to the maps. So here is a small clip of the City of Long Beach bike map. And I am going to open up the full map so you guys can get an idea of how large it is. Let's see if it will load for us. And while that's pulling up, I believe we might have someone in the room with us from Chico. So I am going to throw a couple links for our Chico attendee so that they can see the bicycle infrastructure in their city and on their campus. So here is the enormous City of Long Beach bike map. The City of Long Beach is rated as the 10th most bike-friendly city in the United States. So we're definitely very fortunate with the infrastructure that we have. I'm gonna hop back to the other map because it's more zoomed in. But as you can see, there's all this different color coding, and that basically represents what kind of bike lane it is, whether it's like the one on Bellflower that has the green ballards, or the yellow, which goes through campus, and that's a share-o. So you are sharing the road with a vehicle, but there's those symbols placed throughout the road to inform the vehicles that you're near. And then there's the purple color coding that's pretty much just for bikes. So you see that going on the beach bike path and in other locations as well. So a really helpful tool for planning your trip, and definitely something that you want to use. And I would advise against using Google Maps. You may be familiar with their icons where you can select that you're going to be commuting by bike or by transit, but unfortunately Google Maps, their routes that they suggest are not that strong yet. And so I would stick with using a tool like the Long Beach Bike Map. Let's see, how come my top zone is showing now? I don't know.
It's okay, Kayla, because we can still see your slides.
Heck, Kayla, but I want it to be perfect, Allison. Okay. I don't think I'm gonna get what I want though. So we'll just keep on going. So here we have the CSULB wheel map. And it's loading. And this shows you all the different routes on campus. So we did just recently get awesome icons that help show you the best path to take if you're on a scooter, a non-electric scooter, skateboard, or bike. And so those are those like dotted lines that are going throughout campus. And then there's a handful of dismount zones so that we can be respectful of pedestrians in high foot traffic areas. Then there's these blue symbols, and those symbolize Long Beach bike share hubs. So if you are a member of that program, that's where you'll find the bikes. And then all these little B's are the bike racks. And there's over 60 on campus, which is really nice because it gives you the ability to park right next to your classroom. And that to me is like a huge win of commuting by bike. Not having to deal with parking and getting right up next to your classroom is just a real treat. And lastly on this map I wanted to mention is the fix-it stations. So there are 3 outdoor fix-it stations, and those are the little F symbols. And there are also 2 indoor fix-it stations with tools and bike pumps with a little T. So a lot of good resources for you on campus. All right. So bike events, nothing's really going on right now, unsurprisingly, but it seems like things are starting to slowly open up, and so hopefully bike events will return shortly, maybe in the next few months. But regardless, I did want to share some events that have happened in the past so that you can be mindful and listen out for potential news of them returning. So this is Beach Streets. It is an event that the city throws where they shut down different streets, and it's open for individuals to walk and bike through, and lots of vendors show up, and it's a real good time. And as you can see, it has definitely a big population of cyclists rolling through. And then here's another really fun event. It is called Moonlight Mash, and basically it is held every full moon. And it is a nighttime group ride with, I want to say, up to maybe 150 people attending, and it's really fun, lots of energy. People, you know, dress up. Every single one has a theme, as you can see in these flyers. So one was pajama themed, one was Star Wars themed, and it's just super fun. And I'm going to include a video on Moonlight Mash in the follow-up email, so definitely check that out if you are interested in attending one in the future. So next we have some safety tips. Definitely always a good idea to wear a helmet, and then to use hand signals. As you can see in this image, to turn left, you're going to put out your left hand. To turn right, you can either put your left hand up if you're wanting to like keep your right hand on the handlebar for comfortability or stability. But if you are comfortable taking your right hand off, then you can use your right hand out to the side. When you're stopping, you do left hand down, and then if you're going to slow down, you do a little wavy motion. And I'm also going to hop onto the City of Long Beach's Safety Tips website because they have a lot of good info too. So tips for all road users. So you want to travel the same direction as the vehicle, and you want to acknowledge the same street signals and stop signs. So if there's a red light, then you got to stop. If there's a stop sign, you have to stop, which I know is a bummer if you're on bike, but that's why it's great to check out that bike map, because there are some roads, I'm going to hop on over, there are some roads in blue where they are all, there's no stop signs, so they're all yield, and then you don't have to disrupt your flow by stopping every block. You get to just keep going and going, and everyone else has to yield to you, which is fantastic. So keep going with the safety tips. Definitely do not want to have two earbuds in, AirPods. What do you call them? If you are gonna listen to something, either do it on your cell phone so that it's not completely drowning out the background sounds, or just have one earbud in, because you definitely want to be alert to the vehicles around you, and having your sense of hearing is helpful to that. Be aware of the door zone. So you want to make sure that you are providing enough space between you and a parked vehicle for their door to open up, because that could happen at any time. It's, they might not have their lights on. They might just have been sitting in there with no lights, brake lights or anything showing, and surprise you with opening their door. So you want to make sure you have enough space for that to happen. And I see a note from Sophia. As drivers, we should also be mindful of cyclists. Yes, so that's a great point. So as you're in this webinar, you should also think, okay, well, when I'm driving, I need to be more mindful of my behavior. And so that's a great point. And here we are on tips for people driving. So vehicles should always provide the cyclists with 3 feet of space when passing. Vehicles should be careful when turning right, because there could be a cyclist approaching. And then vehicles should not use their horn to scorn. They should just use it for warning purposes only. And then some more tips for people biking. Again, we have the hand signals. As mentioned before, having bike lights, traveling the same direction as traffic, walking your bike on sidewalks, and minding pedestrians, wearing a helmet. And then here's some tips on what to do in the case of a collision down at the bottom. I will be providing a link to this webpage in the follow-up email as well. So next we have some information about how CSULB compares to another local, or not, another somewhat nearby within 3 miles university. So at CSULB, only 1% of our campus population commutes by bike, and 67% of students drive alone. And here is another university. And if you guys want to guess what university it is, feel free to throw it in the chat. It did kind of show up for a second now that I think about it on that PowerPoint slide, but if you didn't catch it, go ahead and guess and throw your guess in the chat. So this is, yep, okay, good job, Brianna, nailed it. This is what it looks like the first week of the semester, the fall semester at UC Santa Barbara. And as you can see, they don't necessarily have a problem with vehicle parking or vehicle traffic. They have bicycle traffic. And their bicycle infrastructure is absolutely incredible. And obviously they have a really strong bike culture.
Kayla, we have a question in the chat about lights. Are they required to be on at desk?
I don't know what the exact requirement is, but it's like safety wise, it's smart to have them on at dusk. I don't know if you would get ticketed, or I can't imagine you getting ticketed for that, but it's definitely safe to have them on. Honestly, you could have them on all the time because it's going to increase your visibility even in the day. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but motorcycle lights are almost always on, and for that reason, because it increases visibility. I've been on their campus. I'm seeing another note from Brianna, just commenting on how she's experienced UCSB's bicycle culture. Very cool. All right, and here's the comparison. So UCSB students, 46% of them commute by bike, and that's compared to our 1%. And I totally realize that we are a commuter campus. And so that's, I take that into account as well. Not many students live close enough to commute by bike, but there are certainly more students who do live close enough and who could commute by bike that are just accustomed to using their vehicle, and it's just kind of their default. All right, and I'm going to pass it back to Allison.
All right, thank you so much, Kayla, for all of that really helpful information. We have another poll that we want to go ahead and give to everyone, and you should see it now. So there are a few questions. There are 4 questions, actually, so you may need to scroll down to access all of them. We'd love to know your campus affiliation, if you have a bike, how frequently you ride it, about how many miles is your home from campus, and have you ever biked to campus before? We think this information would be just really helpful for us to see who's in the room. And I'm very curious to know if any of you maybe will be changing your habits based on this presentation today. So we're getting some answers coming in. Now, Kayla, you said that you commute to campus. Is that correct?
Yes.
How long is your commute, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure, it's 3.5 miles, and it takes me about 25 minutes.
And how long have you been commuting by bike?
About 4 years.
Nice. And what's your favorite thing about that commute?
I love that it incorporates, it tackles my cardio for the week. So if I bike to campus 3 times, then that's 50 minutes each day, so 25 minutes each way. And then I hit that 150-minute goal as far as exercise per week. And so I can check that off. But now that I'm working from home and going to school from home, it's much more challenging for me to achieve the recommended amount of exercise per week. But I definitely was enjoying biking to campus for that reason. And it was just a great way to decompress after a stressful work day. Just having that experience and being immersed in nature. And my bike route is like surrounded by it goes through the golf courses and the Colorado Lagoon. And so it does feel naturey for me, for my path.
Oh, that's wonderful. It sounds like it serves many purposes for you. One, it's practical. It gets you to where you need to be. You're getting outside, so you're getting that vitamin D, which we know vitamin D is very, very important for you all. And you're de-stressing, and then you're also getting the benefits of cardio. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Kayla. So there's so many ways that people can get more involved in riding their bike, get involved with your local community. If it feels intimidating to start riding your bike on your own, we encourage you to connect with other people and make it a social event. So Kayla, if you want to go to the next slide.
Yes.
There.
Before we do you mind if we share our results?
Oh, of course. Yes. Thank you for asking. Let's go ahead and share those results right now. So it looks like the majority of people are students joining us today. Fantastic. We also love seeing staff and faculty. Interesting. It looks like people who have a bike don't seem to ride it very often. So hopefully we'll have changed that. How many miles is your home from campus? So if you're living 0 to 5, just like Kayla, maybe this could be a really fun, practical way to get to campus. For those of you who live a little bit further, I totally understand that it might not be as feasible. However, with there being a parking issue on campus, one might want to consider driving to school with a bicycle rack and park for free somewhere in the community and then ride your bike the rest of the way. So, just some thoughts, just some ideas. And then have you ever biked to campus before? It's pretty cool to see 19% of people have bicycle to campus. And again, for those of you who said no, who knows, maybe you'll find yourself exploring new routes as we finish up the semester, the weather is getting more beautiful, or planning ahead for fall. How are you going to be getting to campus? I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing those results now. Thank you, everybody, for participating.
And then, Allison, I just thought of something. I'm going to pop in real quick. You mentioned the weather, and I had come across an article in the Washington Post a few years ago, and it identified Long Beach as having the most nice days out of any other US city. And so I just thought that was something that was good to point out to our attendees, because we have a gift in living in Long Beach or going to school in Long Beach or working here, and that is our incredible weather. I just wanted to highlight that.
Thank you, Kayla. Yes, we are so fortunate. And for those of you who are tuning in who are not from Long Beach, we don't want to make you jealous for any reason, but you could always transfer. We always love new members of the beach. We have a great question in here. We have, do you know of any online communities to swap or get discounted bike gear? That's a great question. What do you think, Kayla?
Like I mentioned before, we do get 10% off of Jack's Bicycle Center accessories and bikes. As far as bike online communities, I think I would just turn to OfferUp and Facebook Marketplace. I don't know of any group that specifically offers up bike gear, but it's not to say it doesn't exist. So go ahead and hop on the Google machine and search for it. But I would probably resort to Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp, something like that.
I personally love OfferUp. I'm always so pleasantly surprised by the wonderful things that I find on there. And then another resource is Nextdoor. on Nextdoor app or the website, oftentimes your neighbors. So in walking distance is where you can get a lot of these wonderful items. And I also want to acknowledge somebody sent me a message discussing the Long Beach government website. They stated that at night, bicycles must be equipped with a white headlight or white light attached to the rider and visible from the front. Bicycles must also have a rear red reflector and white or yellow pedal reflectors. They're not sure how this is enforced across students and other community groups, but they wanted to share. So thank you so much for sharing. It was sent as a direct message, so I won't share their name, but it's, you know who you are. Thank you for adding that little research. So thank you, Kayla, for pulling up this next slide. So for those of you who are members of the CSULB community, there is a fantastic cycling club that you can join. You can get in touch with them by finding them on social media. There's also their email address right there on the bottom right-hand corner. Or if you're familiar with BeachSync, which you all have access to, it's our version of OrgSync. It's on your single sign-on. You can get in touch with the club that way as well. And then on the next slide, this is the City of Long Beach Cycling Club, Lightning Velo. They also have a website, and I'll actually drop that website in the chat. So if you want to get involved, maybe you're not a student or you want to do something that's not necessarily associated with campus, it's another great organization. For those of you who are joining from other cities, I encourage you to check out your local organizations. Meetup.org is also another really great place to meet groups of people if you want to be more social when you exercise. And next slide, please. So Pedal Movement is that wonderful organization Kayla mentioned earlier. They oversee the care of our bicycle share program. They also have every third Thursday, they have virtual learning webinars. So really great opportunity for you to learn more about bicycling, especially for us beginner bicyclists. Again, it's never too late to learn, and there's always something new to learn about bicycling. So I highly, highly recommend that you follow them on Instagram and check out their website as well. And then on the next slide, we also have Go Active Long Beach or Go Active LB, and this is through the Long Beach government website, just like Kayla was sharing earlier, and I know she'll be sharing this link in the follow-up email. But again, just another way to stay updated and then maybe even have some fun tips in your everyday feed to encourage you to ride your bicycle more often. So we want to thank you all for tuning into our presentation today. You will receive that email from Kayla with a feedback survey. We would greatly appreciate it if you could take the time to fill that out. It helps us improve our programming. We love any type of feedback. Also, if you're attending as an approved extra credit opportunity, again, this is if it was approved by your professor ahead of time, please follow the link that Kayla just dropped in the chat below. And then finally, if you would like to contact either of us, Kayla works with the campus Sustainable Transportation Department, and their email is right@csulb.edu. And their Instagram is at CSULB_parking. I work with Student Health Services, so you can send us an email at wellness@csulb.edu or follow us on Instagram at CSULBSHS. And I'd love to open up the floor for any questions. And before we do that, just thank you all again for taking the time to be with us today. This was a great pleasure. So, does anybody have any questions from the group? And I'm going to go ahead and stop recording unless